Fumio Kishida won the leadership election of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party Wednesday, effectively ensuring that he will become Japan's next prime minister from next month. In this video, I'll recap what happened in the election, what it means for the parties involved, and how this may impact Japan's upcoming general election. The LDP leadership election came after the term of current leader and Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga was set to run out on Thursday. Although Suga only became leader last year, he was only elected to serve the remainder of the three-year term for former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who quit last year. Suga did not seek re-election due to his alarmingly low popularity. In the four-way race to replace him, Fumio Kishida, the former chief of policy for the LDP, faced off against Administrative Reform Minister Taro, former Internal Affairs Minister Sanae Takaichi, and LDP Executive Acting Secretary General Seiko Noda. Kishida and Kono were the top two vote-getters in the first round of voting, with just one vote apart, winning 256 votes and 255 votes respectively. Takaichi came in third place with 188 votes, while Noda got a mere 63 votes. Since no candidate secured an outright majority, Kishida and Kono moved on to the runoff round. Kishida clinched victory in the second round, 257 votes to 170. Kishida is a 9-term lower house lawmaker from the Hiroshima No. 1 district. It was his second attempt at the leadership post after losing to Suga in last year's race. Kishida had served in prominent positions both in government and in party leadership. Kishida was the longest-serving foreign minister in post-war Japan, and became the first to serve as both foreign minister and defense minister at the same time, following the resignation of the then defense minister over a scandal. He is the first leader to be from Kochikai, a centrist faction in the LDP, in over a quarter century. Some welcome his election as a leftward turn for the party after the right-wing faction Seiwa Seisaku Kenkyukai dominated the party in the last several decades. But as we'll see later, it's actually not as simple as that. Kishida comes from a political dynasty, as his father and grandfather were also lower house lawmakers. He served as a secretary to his father before winning his first election in 1993. Now let's see who won and lost in the LDP leadership race. Kishida's victory is obviously a win for Kishida himself, but it's easy to underestimate how much of a win it is. Just 1 year ago, Kishida was basically written off as having no shot at ever gaining the LDP presidency. Despite having spent many years basically kowtowing to Abe to gain his support, the former prime minister and many other senior figures backed Suga in the 2020 leadership race. Kishida was unable to protect an LDP seat in his home prefecture of Hiroshima in the upper house special election earlier this year, casting doubt on his ability to lead the party in elections. Even as the latest presidential race got underway, Kishida was often overshadowed by the more popular Kono and the darling of the far-right Takaichi. Abe, who even after his resignation stayed one of the most influential members of the ruling party, threw his weight behind Takaichi in the election. But Kishida steadily gained the backing of other party members to overcome his disadvantage in the popularity vis-a-vis Kono, to beat pundit predictions and slide into first place in the first round of voting. The overperformance helped push lawmakers still on the sidelines to back Kishida. While it may seem strange to characterize voters as a loser in the election, it can't be denied that rank-and-file party members who participated in the election got a huge disappointment. In order to explain why, let's dive deeper into how the election works. The first round of voting consists of 764 votes in total, with half of the ballots cast by LDP lawmakers and the remaining half reflecting the votes of rank-and-file party members. In the second round, each of Japan's 47 prefectures get to vote for whichever candidate in the runoff got more votes in the rank-and-file votes, while the 382 lawmakers vote again. Kono, the popular candidate, got 44% of the rank-and-file member votes, while Kishida lagged behind with just 29%. The former beat the latter in 38 of Japan's 47 prefectures. This put Kono ahead in the first round, 169 to 110 in terms of party member votes. However, the popular opinion was disregarded by lawmakers who voted 146 to 86 for Kishida. The vote gap widened in the second half, with Kishida gaining the votes of 249 lawmakers to Kono's 131. The media attributed the lawmakers overturning the 15-point lead to the parliamentary LDP's lack of trust for Kono, but as Shigeru Ishiba, the LDP former Secretary General who sided with Kono, said, it is questionable whether going against the will of the 760,000 members is healthy for the party's democracy. And it's not the first time that this has happened. Ishiba saw his own advantage among rank-and-file members overturned in his loss to Abe in the 2012 leadership election. For many rank-and-file members, getting to vote in the LDP leadership election is the only perk they get for paying membership fees, so having their votes disregarded is not really great for them. Some pundits describe Kishida's election as the LDP's leftward turn after years with right-wing Shinzo Abe at the helm. But a closer analysis shows that, rather than a bringer of change, Kishida is a continuity candidate chosen by the right flank. Before we get into that, let's first look at how Sanae Takaichi did. Takaichi, who is popular with the online right wing and the far right, was initially seen as a fringe candidate with no popular support. However, she got close to 20% of the rank-and-file member votes and 114 votes from lawmakers, much higher than the 86 Kono got. Her rise from a nobody to a strong contender is thanks to fervent support from Abe, who is ideologically aligned to Takaichi, and many members of the Seiwa Seisaku Kenkyukai. This showed the strength the right wing still had in the party, and will be on Kishida's mind when he assembles his party leadership team and his government cabinet. Back to Kishida. Kishida would not have been able to win the LDP election without the support of Abe and the right wing. For starters, his faction is only the fifth biggest in the LDP, while Abe's Seiwa Seisaku Kenkyukai is the biggest with around double the number of members. On the eve of the election, Kishida and Takaichi formed a pact of sorts where one would support the other if only one of them made it to the runoffs. This move effectively ensured that Kishida will become the next LDP leader, as all the right-wing lawmakers will back him in the second round. This encouraged other lawmakers and factions who had not declared their voting intentions to voice their support for Kishida, giving him a comfortable majority. We see from this that the right flank of the party has a big sway over how Kishida runs his government. We already see from reports that the Abe side is demanding prominent posts for Takaichi and members of his faction. Kishida's win, or Kono's loss, is a pretty worrying turn of events for younger lower house lawmakers of the LDP, or more specifically those who have only served for 3 terms or less. This is because they are now at a greater chance of losing their seats in the upcoming general election. The terms of the current members of the lower house run out next month, and an election is slated for early November at the latest. This will be the first election since 2009 that the LDP fights an election without the popular Shinzo Abe leading the way. That, added with public frustration over the government's handling of the COVID crisis and other issues, means that it will be an uphill battle for many LDP members, especially the younger members without a solid support base. Many of these younger members wanted Kono, who is more popular among the general public and had a bigger chance of winning over independents, to be the face of the party for the election. But with Kishida having won the election, members cannot expect to see such a boost. The fact that the LDP leader was ultimately decided through factional politics and not through the independent decisions of lawmakers was also a blow to younger members, who had sought to reform the party and do away with the old style of LDP internal politics. Whether Kishida's victory is good or bad for the opposition parties, such as the Constitutional Democratic Party, is actually a difficult question to answer. Some argue that it's better for the opposition to be facing off against Kishida than Kono, since the latter is extremely popular among the public, including independents. The fact that Kono is also against nuclear power generation, which is something the opposition is trying to do as well, would have made it hard for the opposition to distinguish itself from the LDP and present itself as a better alternative. On the other hand, some say Kono is more prone to gaffes and other issues that can tank the LDP's popularity, while Kishida is more stable and subdued, making it difficult for the opposition to find things to attack. Kishida's economic policies involve ditching the neoliberalism espoused by Abe, which is something the CDP has been calling for as well, so the opposition will find difficulty setting itself apart from Kishida on economic matters. Another potential roadblock for the opposition is the fact that Kishida was not a member of the Suga government, meaning that the opposition won't be able to pin the problems of the government response to the COVID crisis on him. But Kono was the vaccine czar under Suga, and vaccinations have made significant progress in Japan, so whether Kono would have been a better choice in terms of debating COVID policies is questionable. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what content you would like to see in future videos.